Solomon and Sheba. Yul Brynner. And Gina Lollobrigida in a very interesting, good film. Not monumental in the sense that it's not there with on the waterfront, Rebel Without a Cause, films of decades ago that will be forever part of the history of cinema. I hesitate here again because there have been some tectonic changes recently, so who knows. The fact that Elia Kazan seems to have cooperated to some extent with the McCarthy Commission, helping to place some people on the blacklist, maybe could affect on the waterfront, for instance. And other films might probably have some details that are controversial, and therefore, who knows. Gone with the Wind, once the epitome of success, has been stopped from distribution or streaming. So maybe films like Solomon and Sheba will make a comeback from the dark shadows where they now rest in archives. Monumental it is in a sense because it has setting and special effects and background which were surely the creme de la creme of the day. We're not impressed. That's one reason why such films would make audiences smile and young people, not millennials. Now there's another term I heard recently, but I've forgotten. Not Generation X. Not. There's a new thing for those born recently after 2000, I guess. And used with the supercomputer generated special effects of this day, it will be funny to watch people ride horses, do things, but with a background that is evidently somehow painted, somehow added after, or I mean, they didn't even film for many things. They didn't film the car driving on location, so to say. They just had a stage in a studio, and then they moved. They had a car sitting, and they moved somehow the scenery behind. So that's for this sage. Amusing in a way, and it's distracting sometimes, quite often. Anyway, the story is very old, ancient, not just very old, and it's Solomon, the famous king of Israel. Oh, well, ancient Israel. I was thinking Israel is such a new state, such a young state, but then again, it is ancient. It's more than 3,200 years, I think they were saying recently, they were setting up quite a precise date in a way, but it's going millennia. So Solomon and Sheba, love story, love and hate. Sheba is initially out to get Solomon for her patron, so to say, the pharaoh of Egypt. The enemies, the adversaries, fighting in the field, in the battlefield, with horses, with armory with cleverness and tricks in the case of Solomon, known as so intelligent. I think they even say a Solomonic pronouncement or decision in the sense that it's very clever, very well thought. And at one point he uses as tactic, as a strategy in the fight with the Egyptian army, something like mirrors. He's reversing the shields of the soldiers, and the Egyptian army is blinded, and therefore that was serious. They jump with their horses in a ravine, off a cliff, really, and many die. I was just hoping it's just special effects. They don't throw horses, something they did in those days. They tortured and abused the animals, and I'm pretty sure they killed quite a few on the making of big films. I'm thinking Ben-Hur now, but anyway. Initially she is there to try and use cunning and deceit to make him fall in love with her and then vanquish him, so to say, for the pharaoh. But then that turns into something else, into love, and it's complicated because she has a different religion. The priests, the clergy are against Solomon ever since he is enchanted with this unbeliever, this pagan woman, queen, but pagan. So he has a revolt on his hands, and it gets to a climax where it seems he might even lose his throne, life, love, everything. But maybe there's a way out of this. Very interesting, very good film.